So my name is David. This is Adam over here. Don't bug me, this isn't our normal event that we normally do. We normally do the wildlife safari. We're filling in for Carla. She wasn't able to make it today. So we're just gonna go over as best as we can the stuff that we're gonna talk about, and then I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. So the book that Carla is gonna be using is called Field Guide to Insects and Spiders of North America. I'll pass this around so you can take a look at it. It's divided into orders. There's pictures of the different insects. It gives their size, the range, and maybe a couple sentences worth of interesting information about that particular insect. Then if you look on the rules, so if you look at the supplemental handout, it says, the kids are gonna have to know every single bug or insect in that book. On the Don't Bug Me 2015 supplemental handout, up at the top, it mentions the orders that the kids should know. It talks about the reference material and the pages that they should read. And it talks about the different families here, some of the different insects that belong to each one of those orders. My favorite one is, my Latin isn't very good. The Lepidoptera, which is stuff with butterflies and moths, that's my favorite insect family, just because there's so many interesting, stuff out there that you never, being in Michigan, you would never expect to find, like, moths that are this big, or walking sticks that are that long, or giant water bugs that are almost like the size of your hand, and all kinds of cool stuff out there. And then the rules talks about team size, so 1 to 2 kids. There's 20 different stations, so just like our wildlife safari event, there's 20 different stations. So the kids will be timed, and they'll move from station to station to station. There'll be 48 questions per station. They can be true or false, multiple choice, or fill in the blank. And then the only thing that they're allowed to bring to the competition is a 2-sided 8.5 by 11 chart. I think on the chart they can have anything on the chart. So it could be two-sided. So I recommend writing really small. Stuff I used to do in high school, you could go on like Microsoft Word, and you could have like a really small font size, and it was amazing how much information you could fit on a sheet of paper.
One thing that comes up with the two-sided things is that if you don't have a two-sided printer, it can kind of become an issue where I don't think this would be in this circumstance, but I know some supervisors take the rules to the extreme, like they want to follow to the T, and so like you could have, say there's nothing on the back of these, but you have them stapled together. Some might not like that. I don't think it'd be the case here, as long as you can see that there's nothing written on the inside.
No, I think she wants it one sheet. In the past, it's been 2 sheets like that, we've laminated it.
Yeah, that would be a good way to get around
so you
that.
can't, so there's no way to
Exactly.
separate it.
Yeah, because I know there's been issues in the past where like, so there's 2 like this, and maybe someone puts it in like one of those sleeves, and they actually have a 3rd page in there. So like you have to actually follow that. So yeah.
Yeah. And then it comes down to so scoring. So true and false questions are going to be worth 1 point each. Multiple choice questions are going to be worth 2 points, and then fill in the blanks are going to be worth 3 points. And then for our event, I think it's similar for this one. If there's, like, let's say a tie, then it goes down to, if 2 groups have the same score, they're going to look at, what group had the most number of 3-point questions correct? And then 2-point questions, and then 1-point questions. So that will kind of be used to determine if there is a tie, who wins that tiebreaker. And I think that's about it. It's pretty straightforward. The rules, the handout there, and what I would recommend is just taking your kids outside, finding insects, looking, because if you see a dragonfly, that's going to be, I'm going to remember seeing that a lot easier than if I just see, in the book. And if you look through there, there's the insects that are listed. Find a body of water you know, there you'll find the dragonflies, you'll find the water bugs, take a net, you know, go out there, scoop. You know, seeing that stuff in person, you know, will really help that, at least that helped me. And for the test, there's gonna be bugs like this. You know, they might be in like an acrylic block, like one of those specimen mounts, which is like one of those like flat boxes with like the cotton in it. So I'll pass this around so you can kind of look at that.
I believe Cranbrook, certain areas of the Cranbrook Museum have insects in them,
Yeah.
so that could actually be a good place, maybe take your kids who have studied, in addition to going outside.
There's not a lot there, though.
Yeah,
This
it's not
guy
like
was just there a
huge,
few
but
weeks ago,
off the top of
but-
my head, that's the only place I can think of that has, or maybe even the.
Even a lot of, like
They're
a
in
lot
the
of nature
education
centers.
lab, and if you don't know, they're in drawers.
Yeah,
And
they
you
are in
open up
drawers,
the
yeah.
drawers and they'll be in there.
Yep.
But they're in the education class area.
And even a lot of nature centers too, like if you call them up, they might have bug collections.
There's actually workshops.
Workshop, and there's workshops too that, I'm not sure, I don't have any workshop information for this one, but I think.
Stony Creek, some of the.
Stony,
Is it
Metro,
online?
and Shadbush,
Okay,
yeah.
so then I'd recommend going to as many of
Those are
those
really good.
as possible to help to really help these kids.
Coming up with
Workshops
flashcards, I mean, you could
at
print a
Stony Creek,
whole
Metro Park,
variety
Metro
of
Beach,
insects.
Lake St. Clair,
Just
Metro
have
Park now.
kids practicing.
And Shed.
Because seeing it and, you know, their repetitiveness, and too, like, once they learn,
Yeah,
you know, like, it might seem like a lot of information, you know, to learn, but, you know, like, once they learn how to identify these insects, this is something that they'll remember for a long time. So if you're out in the woods hiking, you might say, hey, Mom, that was a green darter butterfly, or hey, Dad, that was a Luna moth, type of thing. So just getting the kids, you know, because a lot of kids, you know, they're, you know, when I was younger, you know, we spent a lot more time, you know, outside and all that. So like, you know, a lot of kids nowadays, you know, they're losing that, you know, they're losing that ability to see a lot of this stuff. But, you know, when they learn it, they see it outside, they're going to be able to, you know, it's really interesting to watch them, you know, when they learn about it and they learn what it looks like, and when they finally see that thing outside, they're kind of like, oh, you know. And for some of them, they, you know, insects, they might get hooked on insects. You know, when I was their age, I started off with frogs and turtles and sort of morphed into everything, you know, just kids might fall in love with bugs. There's so much stuff out there, you know, the dragonflies, the beetles, the damselflies, the butterflies, all that stuff. Like some of the tiger beetles, you know, they sparkle like jewels almost. And there's a lot of really cool insects out there. So are there any questions?
About, like, as far as getting the book, do anybody know?
So the
where they
book,
keep it in stock?
The cheapest place is Amazon,
yeah.
just letting you know.
Okay, just. buy it
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you can find a lot of used books. I wouldn't bother buying a brand new copy. A used copy is gonna have the same information in it, and you're gonna save, save a lot of money. Or even sometimes, you know, you could get a book from the library if you like purchasing it, but then, you know, you could probably only check that book out so many times before it has to be distributed.
Left it up here, like the caterpillars, are they required to look at a caterpillar and know what adult form?
It's, if it's in the book, if it's in the book, then
It's fair game,
it's
yeah.
fair game.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah, so if there's a picture of the larva, then they might need to know.
I don't think in the book, who has the book?
Yeah, there's insects.
I can't remember if there's,
It had, I assume it was larval stage.
Just a word of advice from an entomologist, it's very hard to bring larval specimens of caterpillars in. I'd be surprised if you got tested on too many of those unless they're bringing in pictures.
yeah. So in here, like there's, most of them are just pictures of the butterfly or the moth. There's a couple where it does have the caterpillar, but it's not for every single one. But some of them are distinctive enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like seeing a monarch caterpillar.
The stuff that I saw that Carla had that she's gonna be using for the test, it was all adult stuff. I didn't see
But that
any-
doesn't leave out the possibility,
Yeah.
because if she's using images on a certain station, and if it is in the book, I assume she might possibly use that.
Because the way, this is her first year of doing it, like there's like a big bin that people in the passive use, and it's full of like, insects in an acrylic, and full of like insects in like those big like taxidermy mount type of things, yeah.
Sorry, does anyone else can answer? The other question I have is the right, about how the writings are, it was a little confusing for the kids not knowing, jumping from the Scantron to the write-ins. But it looked like, I didn't really get a chance to look at the county, but I know in the district, they had them all like in a row in one chunk.
I think
It's something we can write down as a frequently asked question.
I did submit it on the SO website too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my daughter did, but she couldn't tell me a name thing when she.
In the
I was like,
when we did it,
"Not helpful."
in the past, like there was just like the true, false, and multiple choice around the Scantron, and I think the other stuff is on a different sheet of
Yeah, so
paper.
they must put all
There
of
must-
the
yeah,
end.
I
So
just-
kids don't have to.
I think you get like
remember
I think
that
you get like a
started.
packet or something like that, and then they turn in the Scantron.
Yeah.
The
And
way
the
I
other
would
sheet,
assume
and
is like the
that's where-
Scantron, you have questions 1 to 15, say those are all true and false, multiple choice, and
Yeah.
then 16, 17 are fill in the blank, those you would leave a skip on your Scantron, and then you would fill it on the
Yeah,
paper.
everything should be numbered correctly, so if it's like 1 through 5 are multiple choice, true and false, if question 6 is a fill in the blank, then it should be like question 6, it would be like on, the paperwork, and you would write whatever answer. Things like that, yeah.
Yeah, what it's been in the past is that the last like 5 to 7 stations
Yeah.
are all fill-in, they
Yeah.
put all the fill-ins together so that you can do all the
Right,
Scantrons
that's my
right in a
worry, jumping
row.
from one number to the
Right,
next.
so those few stations that are all fill-in, those are the ones that are the real stressors because you've got 7 questions to do. It's really quick to color in 7 bubbles, but it's not to write in
Yeah,
7.
and two, like one thing to consider, I know in the past, I think there was something like 140 questions on the test. I'm not sure how many Carla will have. So if you have, 25 minutes, it's pretty quick. You got like maybe 8 seconds per question. So it is pretty quick. So your kids should know the information, because if they have to look, if they're looking on that piece of paper, they're never gonna make it through. So they should know the information very good, and then just use that chart or that card just as a backup thing. So they should know everything.
On write-ins for spelling, I know at the district I asked, and they said as long as you can tell what they were trying to get, if they missed a few letters,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if she's gonna run it the same way. Because again, we have like literally,
The
by the
Latin,
time you
yeah.
digest the question and write out.
Yeah, we can write that
long
down.
literature, they're not
Yeah.
always gonna get all the spelling perfect. So
I don't
know if
think-
she's gonna be-
I don't think I don't think she will be picky, because the coaches don't necessarily do a lot of, I don't think they do a lot of the grading. And the people that are doing the test, I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, you spelled the family name wrong or something like that.
And it's not, I mean, even as people that work in that kind of field, it's not an easy thing, so
Yeah.
I doubt that like the spelling of the Latin name would matter, as long as you get the point across.
Because they have, if there's 100 teams, they have to grade those pretty quick, so that the results can get, processed and all that.
Does each station have the same amount of time, like 30 divided by 20?
Yeah, so you have 20, so there'll be 20 stations, and then I think you come in, it takes about 5 minutes for the kids to come in, have
It seems
every
like
kid
it
get
would
a new
probably average
station.
about a minute per station.
Yeah.
Just because of settling in, going over the rules one last time, any questions the kids might have, and
Yeah.
'cause that's how I know with our wildlife safari event, that's how it is. It's like almost exactly a minute per station, just because it does take a little bit of time to get them in and settled in.
Yeah, that's how it was, when we did it last year.
And it goes like right up until the end.
Yeah, and kids come in, we tell them, what group to go, what station. We tell them, about the stations. We tell them, how much time, and then, how to rotate around the room. And by the time you do all that, that's 5-10 minutes right there. And it leaves you about 20-25 minutes for the actual test taking itself. Yeah. It seems like a lot of stuff to cover in 20 minutes. I was amazed at how well the kids last year did.
It's-
Thinking
you think
about
being
it,
in college,
thinking
you
about it,
take
like having in college you have like 40, 45 minutes to take a test, and I thought these kids are going to be freaking out if you only have like 8 seconds per per question. But I mean, they came in. I mean, they did phenomenal. Just coming in and maybe like the first station or two, but I mean they were, and a lot of them were finishing with plenty of time to spare. So
In that station, are they using the Scantron in every station?
So the different stations, the station could have multiple choice questions, true and false combination of all those. I'm not sure how Carla.
I wrote the question down, how will the Scantron, the true or false multiple choice answers or questions be answered compared to fill in the blank questions. And I know someone over here was saying that they kind of handle it to where as you're rotating through, probably maybe like the first, I don't know, 3/4 say are the Scantron, and then maybe the last quarter of the stations are all fill in the blank. So you kind of have like a rhythm to it. So that's probably the easiest solution. So we can recommend it to Carla if she has not already figured that out.
Oh, so you mean in one station Scantron, the next might be fill in the blanks,
Yeah,
and then
it
true
seems
or
like that
false?
might be a good solution.
Yeah,
Is
and
there
the way they'll come in, they'll be like stations 1 through 20.
But-
So if your team comes to station like let's say 15,
Mhm.
you might start with fill in the blank there.
Mhm.
Then when they rotate around to station 1, that might be true or false multiple choice. So it all depends on like where they start. Like every kid will go to each station, but they'll have a different starting point. So like your kids might start at let's say questions 55, 56, but by the time they rotate from every station, they'll have an opportunity to cover every question. It's not where you come in, everyone starts at question 1. You start off at whatever question at that station. So station 1 might be 1 through 5, station 2, 6 through 10, station 20 might be 95 through 100. So they're going to start at a different place in the test at each station.
Each station, like the questions that's given there, they'll have a distinct number on
Yeah.
it. So even if the fill in the blank, multiple choice, and true and false are mixed together, they'll know not to fill in the bubble for number 15 when it says please fill in the blank.
Yeah, it'll be like
So it'll be very obvious
Yeah.
like what question they'll start at, because they're not going to start at question 1 more likely than not. They're probably going to start at one team will start at 1, whereas you're starting at different numbers. You're going to
and they'll
start at the
be-
number that's in front of you
Yeah.
on that test.
And they'll be numbered so they'll know exactly where to start. And one of the things when they come in for the test, they'll be told, hey, each station is starting at a different question, so make sure you're starting at whatever question your station is starting at. And by the time they go through like the district and then the regional, they should be pros at the test setup.
Do you know how different things are between the district and the county? Because my team, they told me just, when I kept asking how was it was different. They kept saying different, but it
No,
could be.
It's not necessarily harder. It's just that you come up with a different set of questions. So it's similar tests covering the same material, but you're maybe focusing on different species, or you're coming up with new questions about those same species. At least that when we did it, we tried to use only a certain certain select of these Michigan mammals, and then for the regional, we chose a different set.
Yeah.
There might be some overlap, and I assume it's going to be probably the same one.
Yeah, so there might be a monarch butterfly on the district, and then let's say a monarch butterfly in the regional, but they're going to have same insect, different questions.
So is Carla setting up the district tests as well?
She's doing the district and the regional.
Oh,
Yeah. So every event supervisor, it's the same way. They do the district and the regional test. And like what we did when we did our wildlife thing last year, like our district test, we just had pictures of like the Michigan mammals. And then when we did our regional thing, then we actually had like skulls or like scat replicas. So there was different items at the regional one, because at the district there's like 5 or 6 of those, and we weren't able to make it to every one. So on our district one, we just had pictures, whereas the regional one we brought in like actual items.
Can you give me an example of how will be the question for that insect
Oh,
flying
yeah,
in there?
there's,
The one that you passed to us.
so here,
Go on.
Carla gave me an example question, and it says, the following insects belong to the order Megioptera. A, only dobson flies, B, only fish flies, C, only adder flies, or D, dobson flies, fish flies, and alder flies. So then if you open up in the book there should be, you know, in the order and what member belongs in there. Because I think the book itself is divided into, yeah. So each order, each section is its own order. And it's kind of color coordinated. So all the members of the Insectia family are all grouped. They're all grouped together. So if for the flies, so if they know the book and they should know, well, yeah, all those belong to the same order. Because it's not just, you know, it's not like a butterfly here, a butterfly there, butterfly there. Everything is grouped together by order. So everything's there and it should be pretty easy to go through.
Thank you.
Can you read that question?
The following insects belong to the order Megioptera.
Megaloptera.
Megaloptera, thank you. My Latin isn't very good. Then A, only dobson flies, B, only fish flies, C, only alder flies, D, dobson flies, fish flies, and alder flies. That'd be an example of a multiple choice question. Then there might be a true or false, might be fish flies and dobson flies belong to the order Dipiara, something like that. You know, so it could be something similar to that. Yeah. Did everyone sign the sheets? And then if there's any, like, if you have any questions, if we weren't clear on something, feel free to email John Ogden, and then he'll send your questions right to Carla, and then she'll be able to clarify, any questions that you might have.
Yeah, on the website, they have a FAQ section.
Yeah.
That you can submit questions
Yep,
to
yep.
so that other people.
Yeah, and then those go right to John, then John forwards them to us, we answer them.
Yeah, and I think the
And
ones
then
that
he
you
sends
asked
the
that we may
response
not
back.
have had a specific answer for that I wrote down, we're handing that sheet to them.
And then they'll go.
I actually just submitted it like 5 minutes ago before I came in here too.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to remember to submit it last time I submitted it to you.
Any other questions? And, go ahead.
Being in the categories, and they're all like memorization, this is new to us, we've got the other ones.
Yeah.
Where, with this one, which is pretty deep, where do you recommend starting?
For me, I'd start just learning to identify, what the color, what the bugs are. Because if you look, if you know all the information about, let's say, a green darter butterfly, but if you don't know what it looks like, then, because the test, it might be, let's say, a green darter butterfly and an acrylic block. If you know everything about that dragonfly, but you don't know what it looks like.
That's probably gonna be a question at every single
Yeah.
station is identify.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably gonna be the first question.
And it might be like a taxidermy box. It might have, all beetles and let's say a dragonfly, and it might say A, B, C belong to what order type of thing. Some of the boxes that I saw, they had like numbers of different insects within the same box. Yeah.
What I would do, if I were you, the orders are pretty easy to separate by some pretty major characteristics.
Yeah.
So orders are, evolutionarily speaking, all related groups. So they have certain characteristics, morphology that's in common. So for instance, Diptera, the flies, only have 2 wings. So there's some pretty easy rules you can learn to kind of zone in on what order you're looking at. And then, of course, the species, there's going to be representatives that look, all sorts of odd. But if you see only 2 wings, okay, that's a fly. And it looks like from this outline that most of this is geared towards the order level. So a lot of these kind of simple rules of thumb will probably apply.
And it
So,
should
like,
be, all that stuff should be in the book. The book too, yeah.
Make
It should
sure,
explain, I think in there it explains like how to identify, the key characteristics of each order and all that. And just by looking, because everything is grouped in each order, you can kind of see, how everything looks, similar. Then, yeah, like you were saying, there's some outliers that look, you're looking at that thing, and you're like, no way. Because there's some butterflies that look almost like beetles with wings. And there's like some weird stuff up there. Yeah. Yeah.
make sure
Exactly.
that your kids learn the type of development for each order too. The metamorphosis, whether it's complete, incomplete, and know both the simple, complete, incomplete, and then the more Latin
Then I think
terms
it's
for it
on
too.
the,
I was in your spot 3 years ago, not having a clue of anything.
You'll be surprised how well they get it, though.
Me too, and I had nothing my first year.
You're really surprised how well they get it.
Yeah, it's like last year for our wildlife safari event, we had, I think 100 questions. They had a minute each to answer, and we thought they were going to be just horrible because you see like the worry in the parents' faces about like how's that even possible? Because you think back to college and like you maybe had 2 hours to answer a test like that, and we had kids that were like upper 80s, maybe even lower 90% for answering them correct, and it like shocked us. We did not think that was possible. And there is a huge range in there, but like when kids can actually answer that, they obviously put the time into it and it showed. So it is possible to do very well.
and to follow the handout, because what's on the handout is stuff to know and the stuff to avoid. So not every order in the book you'll have to know. It's just the ones that are listed on there. Yeah.
As far as like knowing more about the insects themselves, are we gonna have to know like general degree days, what they feed off of, like what bugs come out at different times of the year?
If it's
I would
in
say
the book,
if it's in the book, it's fair game.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it says. So in the book, like it has a picture of the bug. It has its scientific name, its size, its range, and then 2 or 3 sentences of interesting information. And then it has like how to identify it. So it talks about, for example, the broad-headed bug. It says resembles a large, leggy, uniformly dark brown or blackish ant. Female larger than male. Abdomen side spotted, with yellow. So if it doesn't say what it eats,
Right, like I was
in
saying,
there.
like early in the spring, like say potato bug or a locust beetle.
Yeah, so it might say-
trees or ladybugs feeding off of thirds.
Yeah, so it might say, like, for the ladybug, it might say, in like this little paragraph beside the picture, it might say that this bug is active at this time of year. It's not the same for every bug on here, yeah.
That's covered.
Yeah.
That's
Basically,
pretty-
yeah, insects, so if you're in Florida, insects are gonna come out a lot earlier than up here. And yet these books are written to be guides for the usually
entire
for
country,
North
yeah.
America.
Yeah, but like, just one more question now. So basically, they should master that book alone.
They should know, not the whole book, they should know the information that's on the handout.
Yeah, because you know what, when we were there at the media center,
Yeah.
there were a lot of internet links, whatever,
Yeah.
And then we came in here, we were like shift up to focus on this book actually. So will this help? If like, for example, let's say a kid is 90% fluent in this book, will it help?
If they're 90% fluent in the book,
Yeah.
then they should probably get at least a 90% on the test.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
would
saying,
think, yeah.
because at
There's
least-
Carla's not gonna be taking any information off of any website. All the questions are coming straight out of that book.
That should do
Right
it.
there, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If she was using another resource,
Yeah.
it would be listed on your rules.
Oh, thanks, man.
Right
That's
there.
good.
But yeah, everything's coming solely out of that one book. And the weird thing about bugs, like one guidebook might say they're active at this time of year, they'll only eat this type of plant. You look at another guidebook, will have slightly different information.
Because like when this is our first time, and then when we took over
Yeah.
the event codes, like there's a bag full of a lot of reading materials in there. Well, it's good. Like, but now when you tell me this thing, at least we can concentrate on one
Yeah.
specific material. What I'm saying is maybe like they were telling us to go actually in the pond or in the museum or whatever you call it, you know.
They're like going to like a museum or to like a nature center.
Yeah, like I just
Seeing that bug in real life,
Yeah.
it's going to be like, to me, I learn much better by seeing like the actual insect, not by seeing a picture of it. Like a
Yeah.
picture is a good starting point, but seeing that thing in person, you can see like how how big it is. You can notice like the slight color variation. You can take a look at like the antennas, the wings, the legs, the eyes. So you can see all that stuff up close, and you can get to know that bug a little better than you can by just memorizing it from a picture in a guidebook.
Maybe we'll ask them to catch a bug, you know.
Yeah, and go out. I mean, go out. Yeah, get a butterfly net. Catch a butterfly. Don't kill it. You know, take a look at it.
You might think about putting it like that in your
Take
display.
or some of them, like, if your kids don't like touching a bug,
Yeah.
they make bug jars. It's like a magnifying glass on top.
yeah.
Put the bug in there. You can see what it looks like. You can take a look at the bug without actually having to hold
Another
it.
thing, like an activity we've done in our summer camps is if you take like a hula hoop, or you sit it down in some area, you can go to a grassy area, more swampy area, you just sit that hula hoop down, and you sift through the entire area, and through that you can practice and find a whole variety of insects that live in just such an area that you can just overlook, and very well they're probably in that book. So
And two, like, your kids might not all get,
the timing of the year might not be a good time actually, now that I think about it.
It's
Yeah.
better to have an iPad, you know, than
Or like, good places to look for bugs, just flip over a log, move leaves out of the way. If you find a dead tree, peel up some of the bark a little bit.
We're moving more into the regional. I mean, it's later in the spring. So.
And you'll see, I mean, there's just so much. You flip over a log, it's like a whole other world underneath there. And it's just, my son, flip over a log, that's entertainment for 2 hours. With the slugs, the ants, and all the stuff that you find underneath there. Yeah. And two, like, if your kids don't win, it's okay. But just them just getting the knowledge of the stuff that's out there, that's a building block that they can use later on in life. For me, like, just knowing, just learning something and knowing what that is, being able to identify it, that's all. I don't know everything about the bugs. If I can just identify a bug, to me, that's all I need. That's all I need to know. I don't, I'm not like, oh, that butterfly eats this, and this, and it comes out in June type of thing. To me, I'm satisfied just, hey, that's a meadowlark, that's a green darn dragonfly. To me, that's all. That's all.
Okay, that's good.
And two, and your kids, once they learn this, it's going to be amazing. They'll start seeing bugs everywhere. Bugs in your house, bugs in your plants, bugs in your basement. It will be amazing. Just the
My
amount of
son
stuff
never saw
that they're
cobwebs like
finding,
that.
and they'll be looking too. Like you'll be outside, they'll be
Never
focused
saw
on the ground,
cobwebs.
looking for
Maybe in the
whatever.
picture.
Because I'm sure they'll climb
Now
through
I
the
will
book,
say,
they'll find like
come
their
on.
1 or 2 bugs that they really like. So they'll be out. If they live in this area, they might be out looking for them. So tell them to avoid the bees, the wasps, and all the stuff that will sting. But there's so many. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. They should be able to learn a lot of really well things. Interesting.
Thank you.
2 more minutes to answer questions. If not, you can. Yeah.